So let's jump into the Hunter Biden plea deal, because there was a lot made about the whole, oh my God, it fell apart and then it came back together and then it's fine, but that it was overly broad. And Republicans have been basically putting pressure on this Trump judge to not allow it to go through, and they want to be able to prosecute him for stuff later. And he was under the impression that they had gone through an immunity agreement on other stuff and whatever. They wanted to put in, I think, either somebody was arguing for Farah needed to be part of the case, and he wanted immunity on that kind of stuff, but it wasn't part of what was happening in this, and they still want to try him on the Farah thing. It's not going to amount to a hill of beans, because even the emails they have show that he didn't want to violate Farah, and that's what ended the deal. So it's going to be a waste of fucking time. But they can make a lot of noise about it, and again, they care more about the existence of the investigations than the actual outcome. Say what you will about Trump's complaints about Democrats, but Democrats have been trying to. They impeached Trump twice, and the indictments are aimed at actually convicting him. Trump's whole thing is I just need the dirty noise out there. I just need the illusion of Biden being as criminal as I am, so we can call it a wash and I can run for president. So this is Fox News in relation to, and I think this is the 5 talking about them. Oh, it's Outnumbered. This is on Outnumbered, and they're talking about the whatever. It's this. Let me just scroll this up. There we go. The Hunter Biden plea deal, and that, oh my God, there was such chaos and disorder.
Thank you so much. Let's bring in today's panel now. Harris and I are joined by Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce, director of the Tech Policy Center at the Heritage Foundation.
Oh dear. You can't wear green. Oh God, now I've got to. You don't realize. All right, I don't know who she is, so we won't necessarily pounce on her with a print, but we'll see.
Tara Frederick, and host of Making Money on Fox Business, Charles Payne. Charles, we've had an explosive morning, and now these developments, which frankly raises so many more questions than.
Oh, so many questions.
What do you make of it all?
First of all, I'm like, I got to become a lawyer all over again. It's like, I had to put on my lawyer hat. I didn't even know the FAR. I'm glad I heard Griff mention what it stood for. Here's what I think the angle I was looking at it, we all kind of anticipated, was just this notion that this was a sweetheart deal to begin with, right? And to remind folks, the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act of 1993 was ushered into law.
Oh, my God. Okay, let's just start with the fact that the Republicans pretending to give a fuck about the Brady anti-gun violence law is disgusting hilarity at its absolute peak. The concept that these guys don't even believe that rule should exist. This is what you're gonna go after Hunter Biden and say this is the slam dunk over a law you have been actively fighting.
Then Senator Joe Biden, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, which made this form 4473 a key part of the background check. Lying on that form is a felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison. Bottom line, that was already a big headline. So now the sweetheart deal apparently had a cherry on top. Immunity. Wow, it gets even sweeter for the Biden family. But how brazen do you have to be? How arrogant do you have to be to let this play out?
Well, again, the up to part. All right, let's look at real quick how many people. Let's see. Lying on a gun form. Let's see. National Criminal Justice. Few prosecutions for lying on a gun purchase form. Here we go. Let's see. If I may. This is the Form 4473. This is from National Criminal Justice Association. Form 44, the firearm transaction record is a 6-page document that must be filled out whenever someone buys a firearm from a licensed firearm dealer. It asks questions including whether the buyer is addicted to drugs and is the actual buyer of the firearm. A tweet by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives in Houston said that lying on the form is a federal violation and can lead to severe penalties and jail time. A swarm of Twitter users asked why the Bureau didn't charge Hunter Biden, the president's son, for allegedly lying on Form 4473 when he purchased a handgun in October 2018, the Washington Post reports. The controversy prompted the newspaper to request statistics from the Justice Department to determine whether someone falsely filling out the form could face much prosecution. The answer, they don't. The statistics are relevant as Congress discusses how to strengthen gun laws after high-profile mass shootings. They are a prime illustration of how existing laws are not always rigorously or consistently enforced. Lying on the form is a felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison for being a user of unlawful drugs in possession of a firearm. Now, at the same time, the thing was, are you using drugs at the time, or had you used drugs? And the question about whether or not he was actively using at the time, or whether he relapsed and then got rid of the gun and blah, 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 is another conversation for another time. But whatever. The punishment is up to 5 years. The odds of being charged for lying on the form are virtually non-existent. The 2019 fiscal year, when Hunter Biden purchased this gun, federal prosecutors received 478 referrals for lying on Form 4473 and filed just 298 cases. The numbers were roughly similar for fiscal 2020. At issue is when Biden answered no on the question that asked about unlawful drug use and addiction when purchasing a gun. Biden had been discharged 5 years earlier from the Navy Reserve for drug use, and based on his 2021 memoir, he was actively using crack cocaine in the year he bought the gun. The data do not show how many people might have been prosecuted for falsely answering the question about active drug use. A 1990 Justice Department study noted how difficult it was to bring cases against people who falsely answer questions on the form, especially because there is no paper trail for drug abusers like there is for felons. He said he used drugs. He told everybody he used drugs. He admitted to using drugs. But that's not evidence. A book is not under oath. Like, there is a myriad of reasons why you can't... Nobody's going to use his memoir as evidence. And if he comes in, all he has to do is go, I plead the fifth. And then you got to go find evidence of him physically using crack, not buying it, not selling it, not possessing it, not being seen on video with white rocks, or even smoking anything. You have to prove that what he was smoking on the video was actually crack. Like, there's so many ways around this. Nobody could fucking prosecute this. That's why. And it's, by the way, why they're not going to care, because they're not going to bring the charge anyways. If they tried, all they'd have to go is his attorney go, can you prove he was smoking crack in that pipe? It looks like a crack pipe to me. Do you know, have you tested the pipe? Do you have the pipe? No. Can you prove that it is? And all he has to do is I plead the fifth about stuff, because that's how the law works, and it's done. You're better off pleading. Get him to plead guilty to the charge and have it have it pushed off into something else. Because in a plea deal argument, you can't be penalized if they don't follow through on the plea deal. The fact that the prosecutor's side or the judge itself wouldn't agree to it means that anything he said in it isn't admissible anyways. He can retract his agreement to the plea or his guilty plea, because that's how you protect people against coercion. This is just stupid. And again, do you have the pipe? Do you have pictures? How many witnesses can you bring forward? I saw him smoking. Did you smoke it yourself? What? Did you smoke crack yourself? I plead the fifth. Right? Did you smoke the crack he smoked? I plead the fifth. Well, then how can you say that he smoked crack if you won't say you smoked crack, if you smoke from the same pipe? Like, this is how this stupid shit happens. They reiterated it. They're gonna take it. They wanted to add the FARA thing to it. It's not gonna be added to it. That's that. This is not going anywhere. I'm telling you.
In front of the American public, where so many people have gone to prison for far less.
Yeah. Tammy.
No, they haven't. Nobody's going to prison for being charged right now for lying on a gun form about drug use that they talked about or told in a story in 2018. No one. No one. Here's an idea. Find one. Go find somebody I mean, there are 298 cases in that year. Go find anybody that lied on it about drug use that's being punished. And then go, okay, if some people, you know, they lied on it, or you think they lied on it, and you were going to charge them, why didn't you? Well, we don't have, obviously, you can't do a drug test 5 years later. Even if they're doing drugs now, it doesn't mean they were doing drugs then. Just because it looks like they're smoking something, they could roll their own cigarettes, or they, you know, who gives a shit? Unless you can tell it's actual crack, we can't charge anybody for smoking through a glass pipe. So what the fuck are we supposed to do? We didn't, like, the only pictures you guys have of him, he's fucking asleep. So somebody else could have put that in his mouth and taken a picture of him, just like writing the word dick on somebody's forehead after they black out. What do we charge? You want to talk about a weaponized justice system? That's what that is.
To bring you in, you're always so thoughtful and so cognizant of so many details. And part of what I find so frankly horrifying
Oh, it's horrifying. I'm horrified.
This case, as someone who has spent hundreds of hours in federal prisons looking across the table at average Americans who were serving time for a fraction of what Hunter Biden has verifiably
Hold on, wait.
been accused of here.
Has verifiably been accused of. Yes, you can verify that he's been accused of something. But the reason somebody's in jail is because their accusation led to an indictment that led to a trial that led to evidence being presented that got them arrested in an order, in a timescape that could actually satisfy a jury. Honest to God, find a jury of 12 people that's going to listen to you say, we know this guy smoked crack in this year because he said so in his book. Is everything true in his book? No. I mean, obviously some stuff he played with time, he changed some names and that kind of stuff. So how do we know he's not changing his tail in this one? Oh, because, well, we'll bring him up. He can't be forced to testify? Fuck. Well, this guy says he saw him smoking something. Does he know what the substance was? Did he smoke the crack himself? No, he didn't. How does he know it's crack? Because it smelled like crack. How does he know what crack smells like? He won't testify.
Is the level of detail. For over 6 years that he either failed to file tax returns or when doing so, liked to claim things like his sex club dues, his call girl payments, his daughter's Columbia University tuition, the daughter that he recognized, that is. And when...
Ouch. Also, they do realize that Trump has been arguing that, like, tuitions and those kind of things are penny ante. Nobody gets charged with that kind of stuff. He's been bitching about the idea that they went after Alan Weisselberg using those same things. They don't care. Okay.
The tax division of the DOJ, when those supervisory and special agents referred, it's not just this one felony that we're talking about that everyone continues repeating. It's 6 felonies, actually. Right. And 5 misdemeanors that were serious charges that he's facing decades in prison. And then after that to learn.
Yeah, but when confronted with it, he paid the back taxes. They amended his returns. It was within the window of amending those returns. Believe me, if they had it, they'd have convicted him. They would have moved ahead. But the problem is, it's less about, by the way, them protecting Hunter Biden during this thing, but how they protect, like, super rich people who fuck around on their taxes.
That people whose salaries are paid by our tax dollars
Okay, by the way, for the record, even before he paid his back taxes, Hunter Biden paid more taxes than Donald Trump did.
Statute of limitations run, prevented search warrants from being executed, prevented this from being investigated further. To watch that smug face go in and out of a courtroom when average Americans...
It's so hard. He's so smug.
...who work hard all know someone that served time for so much less.
You do?
I know a woman on chemo who didn't get the benefit of a plea deal of a misdemeanor. She got a felony for $35,000 of alleged tax evasion. He was accused by the DOJ of $17.3 million of tax evasion.
No. $17.3 million is the total amount paid to the entire organization, not to him alone. And his portion of that is, he's not taxed at 100%, you moron. Again, it boils down to $2.1 million, of which he has paid back taxes of $2 million.
What is fair in this? Help these viewers understand why they should be outraged, Tammy.
Well, yeah, please, because I don't know how outrageous. I don't know. Does anybody know what you should be outraged? Somebody write in the chat room, if whoever's got the laptop, look up what we should be outraged about.
I think also they should be pretty happy today. Is that because with everything that you've noted, we expected, and everybody seemed to expect, the media expected this to just go on through.
Well,
this was going to be a simple thing. It was going to take 30 minutes, that it was normalized. And when his actions were not just his smug look, but an attitude of doing things in the open, expecting no problems. Americans, of course, sometimes what's taken into consideration is not just the crime that you do, but the intention behind it.
Oh, fuck you. Okay, do Trump's documents case now.
Right.
If you're arrogant about it, if you knew what you were doing was a problem, or if you were...
These are my documents. I get to keep whatever I want. I was president. Joe Biden wasn't president. I get to keep all this stuff. And if I want to have a smug look, they just let you. If you're a star, they let you smug.
You did know or whatever. But even back and forth, the nature of what you're doing is based on the kind of treatment you're expecting to get or the kind of treatment you're not going to get. So
all right, again, what? They're going by what they think is a smug look on his face. I don't know where the fuck that comes from. Because he smiled at somebody? Oh, that motherfucker. Like, that's how they're reacting to it. Do you think he went to court for this deal and went, I got to plead guilty to these two things to try and fix this shit, and I'm unpacking all this crap from when I was a drug addict and it sucks, but time to pay the piper and blah, blah, blah. You think he just went in there like, la-di-di-da? Okay, now, one more thing. There was a breakdown, I think, let's see if somebody did a breakdown of okay. This is a Daily Beast article on it, if I may. The breakdown of the Hunter Biden plea deal may contain silver linings for both the defendant and for the U.S. Department of Justice. Federal District Attorney Mary Ellen Noriega tanked the deal today after what was expected to be a straightforward hearing turned into 3 hours of drama where the plea deal was off, on, and finally postponed altogether. Judge Noriega initially expressed concern over the scope of the plea agreement, arising out of the DOJ's insistence that the investigation was still ongoing despite reaching a plea agreement with Hunter Biden after 5 years' worth of investigation. The Biden defense team naturally took the position that the plea bargain should include protection against any other prosecutions. When the DOJ balked, the deal was temporarily off, or as one Biden attorney put it, null and void. It's understandable that people will wonder how it's possible that, in such a high-profile case, the full scope of the agreement was not completely hammered out beforehand. But the reality is there was something to gain for both sides by leaving it vague. If the judge had accepted the plea as is, and then the DOJ, whether under Attorney General Merrick Garland or perhaps a future Republican AG, later tried to bring additional charges, then Biden would have a good argument that the government was barred by the plea agreement from doing so. Plea bargains are essentially contracts between the prosecution and the defense, and ambiguity in contracts are usually construed against the party who drafted the contract. This is, by the way, why Bill Cosby ended up getting out of jail. Because the deal he had... the person who was trying to make the deal harder on him ended up breaking the deal, and that was a violation of his Fifth Amendment rights, because he was like, if you settle in civil court, I won't use what you say against you to put you in jail, and then he did it anyways. So that got overturned. So if the plea had gone through, Biden's team could have reasoned that any ambiguous statements were about an ongoing investigation presented lesser exposure, given they would counter later charges under a theory that the government is breaching its plea agreement. Biden's team also may have taken into account that the likelihood of additional charges, such as violations of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, arising from almost 5 years' worth of investigation producing no charges. And that's not even taking into account the incredibly picked over and tainted evidence from the infamous Hunter Biden laptop that appears to have been handled and tampered by legions of people, making it useless from an evidentiary standpoint. Don't you guys love when I'm right again for you guys? Have I not told you this? This is, if the DOJ doesn't get this guilty plea now, the longer they wait and the more Biden's team can make the case that you only know this because you got it from this shitty hard drive, which is a manufactured thing that Rudy Giuliani was peddling all over the place and has files and shit added to it after the fact and blah, blah, blah. And I never even will cop to dropping this fucking thing off. That was a Russian guy who does a fairly decent Hunter Biden impersonation. That'll work. It'll work because it was already 3 copies in and a violation of his privacy to even pass it on, because the hinky stuff this dude saw is none of it was indicative of a crime. He didn't see in there like someone shooting someone. Oh my God, he filmed himself murdering someone. He doesn't know any of that stuff. So the minute he passed it on was a violation of privacy. The whole thing gets thrown out. And then, of course, they added files to stuff and whether it was concocted in the first place before it even got to him. Like, none of this fucking stays. It's all fruit of the poison tree. And the second you even try, they're going to go, Your Honor, they can't even produce the metadata where these files came from. And it's a violation of our client's privacy that he would have to show you all of his real emails to show you which parts they fabricated and which parts they didn't, because that would open it up for anybody in the world to just make a manufactured version of the email because they want to see what's in your real emails, and they go, prove it. Prove you didn't write this sentence. The violation of privacy in that would be enormous and fucking super easy. I don't know anybody who'd be for that. It's nuts. Anyways, for the DOJ, there were obvious political optics by being able to say publicly that the Biden investigation remains ongoing. They may have hoped that they could insulate them from political criticism, but this effort to insulate the DOJ from public criticism seems to be a futile Don Quixote style request. Yeah, because even if you threw him in fucking jail, they'd go, oh, he's going to a cushy jail. Why aren't they putting him in Rikers, right? The Garland-led DOJ, that's not even him. It's Claude. They put Hunter Biden's Claude in prison. Put enormous effort into trying to avoid political criticism, which has only brought accusations that the department is being politicized, thus leaving the ambiguity of an open investigation may have offered the DOJ some political cover. Judge Noriega, however, eliminated the benefits of ambiguity for either side by demanding clarity in the scope of the agreement. She also seemed to criticize the phrasing of the pretrial diversion agreement because it required any alleged failure by Hunter Biden to comply to be brought before the court to do a fact-finding. Although it is not entirely clear yet, Noriega appeared to be uncomfortable with that process, given the diversion is something completely in the control of the prosecution and not normally overseen by the courts. This may account for her referencing a problem with separation of powers. The bottom line, however, is that both sides are likely working to fashion an agreement that the court will approve. This agreement will probably be quite specific, that Biden is only guaranteed no further prosecution arising from tax and gun charges, but the DOJ can bring other kinds of charges. Biden will likely agree to this because the deal still gives him closure on the tax and gun charges, and he will be willing to roll the dice that the DOJ will continue to come up with nada on any other charges, given their lack of progress in the case half a decade's worth of investigation. Exactly. Daily Beast nailing it by saying what I've been telling you guys for fucking 2 years. Isn't it fun to watch everybody come around to what I've been telling you? It's I gotta say, it's just nice. All right. So, so these people.
This is what is the major problem. This is a microcosm of the major problem in this country right now, is who is this country serving? Is there, it's now almost like a little bit of a cliche, but it's true about a two-tiered system of justice.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. Of course there's a two-tiered justice system, or Donald Trump would be in fucking jail right now and he wouldn't have a passport. What are you talking about? Anybody else discovered with the stuff that Donald Trump had, even if they'd had clearance at the highest level and had gone through the vetting process, which Trump didn't have to do because he was elected to office, they'd be in jail right now. Ask Reality Winner. Are you nuts? Of course there's a two-tier justice system. And Trump has benefited from it his whole fucking life.
The IRS was crowing the other day that, okay, we'll stop making surprise visits at regular Americans' houses because they owe us a little bit of money. And, so that's supposed to make them, good guys. But this is what the American people see. The American people, no matter what they do for a living, understand fairness. This is about fair play. So many things in this country.
Yes, I agree. Why is Hunter Biden paying more taxes than Donald Trump? And go.
About sports, about the nature of politics, about prison time, about reform.
Sports? I guess these are just all areas where we should expect fairness and fair play.
And the only thing Tucker, this
What's
guy's
his
not
name?
Wearing is a tutu at this point. Is like dancing into the courtroom and flipping off America in general.
This is a run of the, this was the judge that did this.
Because of the absurdity of what it is we're facing. This judge's actions today in the current situation is good for the country. They talk, it might be a trial. Well, you know what? For a lot of Americans, it is a trial. Or sometimes they plead to something that only gives them 50 years in jail. This is good news.
Yeah, if they've murdered an entire family. If you're pleading to something that only gets you 50 years, only? Most of the time you're not done digesting your victims.
And it's perhaps because of the conversation, because Americans were shocked. The system was shocked. And this cannot continue on.
Oh, the shock. How do you even deal? I don't even know. It's so hard. Whew, I gotta say, give me 1 second. I just need a moment if I could. Hold on, this is just ridiculous. Let's bring it down a little bit. The lights are so bright and I can't, so much, I can't. Oh, it's just, how do we even get the, it's just, I feel, it's so bad I'm like blurry right now. I didn't even know. Move this over here because it was moving. There we go. All right. Where were we? Oh, yes, I'm fine.
Good for that judge. Good for us that it didn't just get pushed on through, and good for the future that we now see that this is how the system should work.
Yes, under Joe Biden. Yeah. Did Biden make a phone call and go, "What the fuck? Fix this for my son. God damn it." Blah, 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 blah. Did he go on television and use the bully pulpit to go, "Slime balls in the DOJ are going after my family, my children"? No, he went, "All right, my kid was an addict. He was fucking around. He's going to find out. I mean, I hope it's we can work it out, and I hope I don't have to pardon my own son in 6 years."
In the landscape that Tammy just described, Kara, it includes our, again, tax dollars paying for 87,000 new IRS agents. But
I have a thing about like zombie talking points.
that's against the backdrop of the tax division manual, which demands that if the elements of a felony can be proven, you cannot charge or let plea to a misdemeanor. So to that point, the flagrant cavalier quality that this case seemingly has been handled, when most of us, believe me, do.
Well then, hey asshole, maybe the problem is they don't think they can prove the felony. If that's what the manual says, and you see what's being done, you have to use someone's state of mind that they were intentionally hiding something or they were intentionally going around this, and that it was due to a criminal activity and not to just them being an addict or a fucking mess or behind on things or any of that shit. Maybe you're onto something.
Get afforded that generosity is made all the more difficult to stomach.
Exactly. And here I'm
exactly,
looking
yeah.
at all this coverage and I'm thinking, okay, are the wheels of justice finally turning?
Oh my God.
I completely agree with Tammy. It looks like our system, which one of the central tenets of our system is equal application of the law in America, it appears that it is working today, which
is weird because Joe Biden is president. Huh. And his son is the defendant. Huh. And if Trump was in office, do you think he would be handling it the same way Biden or the White House is in general?
We've been a little worried about that actually being the case in the past few months. But I do want to come back to what Tammy said, too. You know, the smug look, the fact that they've not just...
What the fuck? All right. Are they responding to a particular piece of video or something, like where he smiled at somebody? Because that's what it sounded like. The smug look. Were there cameras in the fucking courtroom?
Trotted him out, especially in the courtroom, but they let Hunter take positions at state dinners. They take him to Ireland, and he's glad-handing, you know, with people. So
Yeah, he's not a dangerous felon, and he's going through the legal system. He's not been convicted yet. Look, if you want to argue that he deserves an ankle monitor and shouldn't be able to leave the state, cool, but Trump does too. How about that? We don't want a two-tier justice system.
that, and to me...
Tell you what, when you have any evidence that Hunter Biden had showed or retained any kind of classified documents himself, have at it.
You said it's a slap in the face to everyday Americans. This man should be hiding. He should be keeping his head down because...
Oh, because it upsets you. I see.
You know that the confluence of evidence indicates some wrongdoing here. So why are they...
So if the confluence of evidence shows some wrongdoing, you should keep out of the public eye. Who else could that possibly apply to?
Us brazenly saying, here, fly on Air Force One, here, come to all our state dinners and our vacations.
Jesus Christ. Can we just clip this and play this over Trump talking?
That, to me, is something that I think Americans are seeing, and they recognize it's a problem. Hopefully, we come to a resolution that is, frankly, more American.
More American. I hope that when they throw him in jail based on shoddy evidence and violation of his Fifth Amendment rights, that they wave an American flag, not the one now, the Betsy Ross.
The presence at the state dinner was made all the more, sorry, excuse me for a second, just to finish this thought. The presence at the state dinner was made all the more striking because the Attorney General was in attendance too. Right. And as you talked about the flying across...
And did it help him? Motherfucker, that's amazing. He was there. Merrick Garland was there. And still this happened. You could argue, how about this, stupid? How about that he might have had a sweetheart deal and then he farted or spilled the gravy at the state dinner and Merrick Garland's like, fuck this guy. And that was that.
Country, you know, as he failed to pay his tax returns and lied on them, he also
failed to pay his tax returns?
Across the country on a private jet to claim to an Alabama judge that he didn't earn enough money to pay child support.
Yeah, now. And part of the reason is because he had to pay all these back taxes for funds he no longer has. Somebody else had to help him pay them.
Harris.
Oh, and I'm
Harris.
sorry for cutting in, Emily. I just wanted to pick up on something that you said, Tammy, because this really is about the American people.
It totally is. The American people. They don't like seeing the rich, the powerful get away with things that they would never get away with. Like if any average dude out there was caught on tape, you know, saying you can just grab women by the pussy, they would lose their job immediately. They'd be hounded. They'd never be able to run for office, certainly, or whatever. And the Americans see when someone else is able to... Oh, fuck. Who's been swapping out my teleprompter again? God damn it.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you can see through the forest, the thick forest of trees to some daylight that forensically this is being shed today. The people can see that sunlight just cleaning everything.
Forensically, hold on. What? Run that by me again.
You know, the forest, the thick forest of trees to some daylight that forensically this is being shed today. The people...
Forensically, this is being shed today. Are they just stupid? Is that what this is? Is this just filler at this point?
Shut up and never say anything again as long as you live.
I don't understand. First of all, you'd say forest like it's a bad thing. And forest for the trees is one thing, but like, wouldn't you say like sunlight into the dungeon or some shit?
Am I getting through to you? Over.
I don't know.
See, that sunlight just cleaning everything out.
That's what it is. Sunlight is the greatest disinfectant, especially on the forest floor.
And I also agree, and I
All right, I don't. First of all, nobody agrees with that. Nobody knows what the fuck you're talking about.
particularly the liberal media, we all went into this day thinking that this was going to be one and done really quick. However, that mantra was still being touted 2 hours ago as we were watching them walk into a courtroom. What had changed was somebody on his legal team had done something they shouldn't do. Somebody who's accused, a young woman accused of pretending to be somebody else to try to get some evidence, kept out of the case. And those types of things the judge is taking a look at. So
No, it isn't. This had nothing to do with any of that. This was strictly based on the idea that the plea agreement was too vague, and she wanted it narrowed because Republicans wanted to continue to go after him and have open investigations going forward just for the fuck of it. And they're like hoping that once Trump gets in, they can throw Hunter Biden in jail and then chase after Joe Biden as an old man just for the fuck of it, and just in case any other Democrats run. And that's all this is about. The threat of, like, I'll get in there and I'll go after him.
it's not anybody's opinion but hers that counts.
I love lamp.
It's just genius.
Judge Marianne Norioka.
Hey, everyone.
Norioka. Marianne Norioka. Judge, it's nobody's business, but Judge Marianne Norioka. Or federal judge, or, one second, let's find this real quick. Or federal court judge, district court judge, Mary Ellen Noriega. It's just fun. Does it really even matter at this point? I mean, it's just the news.